A little prayer to Jagannath before we begin. Manatho Sri Jagannatho Madguru Sri Jagadguru Manatma Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Manatho means my Lord. Manatho Sri Jagannatho, my Lord. Jagat means universe. So Jagannath means Lord of the universe. Manatho Sri Jagannatho, my Lord is the Lord of the universe. Madguru, my Guru, Sri Jagadguru is the universal Guru. Manatma, my Atma. Manatma, Sarva Bhutatma, Sarva, all Bhuta, beings. My soul is the soul of all beings. As we talked about a little bit last week, the Atma Karaka relates to Shiva. As the Karakamsha we looked at, that's the form of Shiva that purifies our soul. The Atma relates to Shiva. So, Manatma, Sarva Bhutatma, that Atma is this Guru, and it's the Guru of all. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, to that Guru I bow. Manatho Sri Jagannatho, Madguru Sri Jagadguru, Manatma Sarva Bhutatma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Very simple, beautiful. You want to try and do it together a little bit? We'll do it a few times so that we can all get it. Manatho, Manatho Sri Jagannatho, Sri Jagannatho, Madguru, Madguru, Sri Jagadguru, Sri Jagadguru, Manatma, Manatma, Sarva Bhutatma, Sarva Bhutatma, Tasmai Shri, Tasmai Shri, Guruve Namaha, Guruve Namaha. Very small, beautiful prayer, one of my favorites. And we're Vyasa SJC. So, what is Vyasa? Something we have done, something I have been meditating, because Gail was there, I wanted Vyasa. Guruji was even hesitant about, because the list for the gurus of SJC, it was called Vyasa SJC. It was our main list. For you had to be a SJC guru to be on it, and it would be communications relative gurus to gurus. And it closed down because of some quarreling, and Guruji had planned to open it later without the people who were quarreling. So he didn't really want to give Vyasa to us because, he had Vyasa for other purposes. But I was insistent. V worked for my Jupiter. He wanted my Jupiter to be activated, and so I wanted Vyasa. So who is Vyasa? Because that's part of our mission here. And as we become Gurukul, it's all of our mission.
Yeah, what do you mean by Gurukul?
Gurukul, family of the Guru. Okay. Family of the teachings. What is the Guru? I have if you haven't read my article on Guru on my website, please check it out. And those are the teachings of Sanjay. It's the elaboration of what I say about Guru. It's under the yoga section on my website. And I talk about the different levels of Guru, from the lowest level of your mother teaching you how to tie your shoes to the level of Jagat Guru, the Guru of the universe, who is everywhere and everything teaching. So Gurukul it's the family based on the teachings. So Vyasa came at a time, the rishis who wrote the Vedas, who heard the Vedas, they were at a time where the yugas were very long and they lived for thousands of years, and sattva pervaded and knowledge pervaded and understanding was very high. Imagine if you could live 1,000 years. You could spend 100 years studying music, 100 years doing astronomy, then you could, 100 years doing yoga and meditation, then you start doing some Jyotish. You have 100 years just to understand the houses before you even move on to... the level of understanding was great, because these rishis, at their time. And as the yugas began to change, it got shorter and shorter, and the different generations are coming through, and the lifespans are getting smaller and smaller. And so Parashara was the grandson of Vashishta, who was one of the Vedic rishis. And Parashara, his main thing was teaching, that we know him for, is teaching Jyotish, but he taught Vedas in general. All the Vedas. And at the time, there was a lot of, it was the time of Parashurama that Parashara was alive. And so Parashurama incarnated to destroy all these warrior castes because the warrior castes had become too powerful. And the warrior castes were getting out of hand, and they were going and they were destroying ashrams. They were, and Parashara's own ashram was destroyed. And so this is one of the reasons Parashurama incarnated. Why is God incarnating? To kill these warriors. They were going around doing some things that really, they had created, their whole caste had created some pretty bad karma by the things that they were doing. Not just what they did to Parashurama. It's much bigger and greater. It's that destruction of knowledge. Because Shukracharya, who incarnated as Parashurama, is a guru in himself and does respect knowledge. And so that destruction of ashrams and the proliferation of Vedic knowledge did disturb Vishnu, even in the form of Venus. And so Parashara didn't have his own ashram anymore. And I think of it sometimes similar to what's happened into Tibet. We wouldn't have the Tibetan teachings here if China didn't go and take them over. They wouldn't be interested in sharing because everything would be okay over there and they'd keep it to themselves and transcend and leave us all in the dark. But because the Chinese came and they created a diaspora, and so the knowledge is everywhere. In the same way, that's what happened to Parashara. When his ashram was destroyed, he didn't have an ashram anymore. So this whole center where you had to be real elite and get into to get the knowledge, and only the highest elite were able to receive, he began traveling to different smaller ashrams all around India, teaching Jyotish and the Vedas. And he had a son. Long story how his son came about, but we'll just go from the point that he had the son. And his son was named Krishna, somebody help me with the pronunciation, Dvaipayana? Do you know? Krishna Dvaipayana? Is that the...
I haven't heard that.
It means Krishna of the two islands. Or Krishna of the island in the river. Something of that nature.
Krishna Dweep?
Dvaipayana. Something of that nature. And that was his name. And he later got the name of Vyasa, because his father's traveling around teaching the teachings of the Vedas. And at that time, the Vedas were huge. They were much, much bigger than they are now. And they were immense. And Vyasa took, and at that time there was 3 official Vedas. And he took, and he added a Tharva Veda in, and made it 4 official Vedas, and really took and codified what is Rig Veda. And which mantras are in Rig Veda, which mantras are in Yajur Veda. He codified things, he organized things, and then, as his father had done, because does everybody know how Parashara died?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Well, Parashara, when his ashram was attacked, he also was attacked, and he hurt his leg. And so after that, he got a limp. And so he couldn't run very fast. And in his travels, he was traveling, and he went through some really dense forest, and he was attacked by wolves.
Oh.
He couldn't run, and escaped from the wolves, and was attacked by wolves and killed. What's that say about his chart? But we all have to die somehow, right? So
Do we know his chart? Do we know his chart?
Parashara, no, he didn't leave it to us, unfortunately. He probably left it, and we've lost it. Probably somebody kept it, I have Parashara's chart, I'll keep it to myself, and then they died and we lost it. That's one thing that Sanjay said. He said, I'll give it all out. I won't die with this knowledge. Too many great masters in India have died, and so much knowledge has been lost because of being the selfishness of wanting to keep the knowledge and things of that nature. So he gives it, that's why we give it, and we give it freely, because it has to be given. Because if you die with that knowledge, you're cursed. If you kill somebody that has that knowledge, like Sanjay has so much understanding. They always talk about the curse of killing a Brahmin. If you've read any scriptures, they always talk about how bad it is to kill a Brahmin. The reason it's so bad to kill a Brahmin is these days, it wouldn't be as bad because half the Brahmins don't know more than you. You know more Vedas after you've studied this for a few years than the average Brahmin. But the real Brahmins, people like Sanjay, we couldn't fill his knowledge. Wouldn't fit if we wrote it all down. Wouldn't fit into this room. So he's just a walking, living library of information. So killing someone like that, you've destroyed all that information and knowledge. So that's why the curse of a Brahmin and killing a Brahmin is considered so bad. Because Parashara and Vyasa, when they were going around traveling, because of the destruction that had happened at that time, they started teaching, one group would learn Rig Veda, one group would learn Yajur Veda, and they started dividing the knowledge up so that it could be remembered and it would be able to be passed on. So if you just happened to kill the person who was remembering the 4 books of the Yajur Veda was lost. You didn't just destroy a person, you destroyed a whole information that was thousands of years old. So but it goes either way. If you die and you take that and you kill that information by not passing it on, you've killed the information as well. Okay, back to topic. So Parashara had traveled all around, and when he passed away, then Vyasa continued as his father had. And they talk about Vyasa was incredibly smart. His father would say something, and he had a where you remember exactly photographic memory. He remembered everything his father said. Just as soon as his father said it, he could say it back. So his father would say the mantra, and he would know the mantra. And so he went around traveling and teaching and really dividing up the knowledge and making sure that it would continue to be passed on into this present age. And they worked a lot with writing the information down as well, because they knew that in the coming yuga, they could calculate that the yugas were changing, because Krishna was born, and Krishna was the omen that Kali Yuga was about to begin. And they saw the changing, and they were getting ready for the knowledge to try and make it through Kali Yuga. So he worked with codifying, organizing, and continuing this information. His son was called Sukadev. And Sukadev, there's 2 different stories about Sukadev. One is that they made him get married to carry on so that the lineage of Vyasa would carry on. Some is that he went and became a sannyas. Some he got married, then became sannyas. But he got a group together, and they were so devoted to the learning that they went and they lived out in the woods, and they didn't even wear clothes, because then they'd have to waste time washing them. And that's time that they could be studying and writing.
Right.
So this is Vyasa's son. So maybe one of these days a breakoff of Vyasa SJC can be Sukadev SJC. But right now we're Vyasa had a wife, and his wife was the 4th Veda is called the Atharva Veda, and he married the daughter of the master of the Atharva Veda, and brought the Atharva Veda brought into the 4 Vedas. Before him, there was a controversy. There was the 3 Vedas, and then there was this additional Veda that Vagish just said, no way is this part of the 3 Vedas, the Tree Vedas. And Vyasa, and it created a conflict between these 2 groups of Vedic scholars, which made both of them weaker, which allowed the warrior caste to become strong and destroy them, which is basically, again, what happened to Tibet. Different views, they had different sects, which created weakness and dissent within them and led to the fall. So we got to have unity. And Vyasa brought back the Vedas so that the 4 Vedas, and they're all agreeing. So Vyasa literally means he who organizes and codifies and arranges properly. And I picked Vyasa intentionally. Very intentionally. Yes.
So Vyasa and Jaimini are brothers?
No, Jaimini wasn't a son of Parashara.
Oh.
Jaimini was a student.
Oh, I got you.
So they're about Jaimini and Vyasa probably are about the same age. I think Jaimini was a little bit older than Vyasa.
Why Jaimini only used in some part of South India and not the north and other parts?
What do you mean only used?
Jaimini is used in Andhra Pradesh and
The Upadesha Sutras?
Upadesha Sutram is followed, what I mean used,
Mm-hmm.
is followed by that period extensively.
Mm-hmm.
Only people look at this Gemini way in that area. And if you go to North, people are not aware of Gemini.
Yeah, I've wondered a bit about that myself. I'm not particularly sure why, whether it was the knowledge itself or the Muslim invasions that could have destroyed some of the knowledge, and a lot of times you converted or were killed, and half the people were killed, half converted, and so a lot of information was lost in the north because of that.
Yeah.
A lot of temples were lost because of that. So I don't know if that's the reason or exactly. We can also look at planets and planets ruling the different parts of India and see the strengths of different types of astrology and different texts used. But yeah, so Jaimini was, they were, I think Jaimini was a little bit older than Vyasa, but they were both students of Parashara, but Vyasa was the son as well, while Jaimini was just a student. He lived with the Guru and traveled with the Guru, relatively. So, Vyasa SJC. So understanding Vyasa and then understanding SJC. So, Guruji, sometimes he'll talk about he doesn't really talk about his past life, a few times he's mentioned it. Yeah, I spent a lot of time with him, so I get little tidbits here and there. And there's the belief that in a past life, he was a royal astrologer. He was one of those who took most of the information to the grave. He didn't teach. He didn't give the knowledge. And because of that, in this birth, he is doing nothing but giving that knowledge. He is fully teaching. He was born into a lineage of royal astrologers. His family they were astrologers to the king of Orissa. So he was born back into the same reality, yet there's no kings anymore. So there goes the royal support. And wherever there's royal support, the Vedic sciences have always flourished very heavily. But now we don't have the royal support, so the support has to come through other means. And but yet the teachings still have to be given, and given in the way that they were traditionally meant to be given. So his big thing is he teaches, and he wants his students to teach as well. And so what am I doing? I'm sitting here teaching for free to you because that's what he's doing to me, and that's what I hope you will eventually repay me with as well, is by, again, teaching, so that we can spread this knowledge. Now, I myself, when I went to the Nadis, they talked all about past lives. I've had past life readings and things of various natures. In my past life, I was did Ayurvedic medicine my last few lives. And when it comes to Ayurvedic medicine, it's there so easily. Even the Nadi reader said, you study Ayurvedic medicine now because of your past lives, being an Ayurvedic doctor. They knew that I was in India at that time studying Ayurvedic medicine, working in a clinic. And my most recent last life, I worked a lot with this is my birthday lecture, okay. I worked a lot with bridging the gap between East and West, taking this very Eastern knowledge and making it understandable to the Western mind. And if you know anything about the late 1800s, early 1900s writings, they did the best they could, but they didn't do it that well because it was so new. And they were coming from such a different mental framework. They did the best they could. They talked about chakras, and people were blown away that you're talking about something inside of you that's energy. Mm-hmm. And so they did the best they could, but they set the groundwork so that now, if I start talking about the planets related to the chakras, it's not a big surprise to you. So, in the past, I had to do the beginning work, and now in this life, my goal is a little bit more relative to not making it bridging a gap, but making it so there's no gap. The world has gotten to the place where there is no gap between India and America anymore. We can go right now and talk to somebody and actually see them right here if we hook the computer up and have a full conversation with somebody in India talking to them. We can be in India in a few hours. So there is no gap in space, in time, and so in consciousness, that gap is slowly coming together as well. And so the teaching that we're doing here right now is eradicating that gap in consciousness. And so with Guruji's background, with my background, and with the concept of Vyasa and SJC, there's so many teachings out there right now. If you look at Visti's site, my site, Sarjeet's site, some of the other sites out there, there's so much information. All the conferences that Guruji's done, all his students have everything that they've taught, the papers they've written, the Jyotish Digest, there's everything. There's huge amounts of Jyotish. It's almost all there. Almost. There's no end to it, so it can't all be there. But why aren't you out there swimming in it all?
You need a living teacher to ground it into.
A living teacher.
It's also the language. Like I received the Jyotish Digest, and that's one reason why I started looking for this teaching, because even when I took the books, the terminology was foreign. Even when I studied the art, for example, we didn't use this terminology. So sometimes I don't know what it means. I probably might even know the concept.
In
but I don't know
1 year, go back and read it all. You'll know it all.
Yeah, I don't know how to translate it, So that's for me.
To me, it's an ocean. And in an ocean, we need to know how to sail across that ocean and the currents and the path to take. So my main goal, mission with SJC, Vyasa SJC, with Vyasa guiding us, is to work on organizing all this knowledge. When we begin teaching to beginners in January, most of the information that we need to teach, it's already available. But how to get to it? Where is it? Like this paper right here that I have on Karakas, which will be our first little bit for today, this is written by Sarjeet. It's incredible. But how, as a beginner, are you going to know that this is what you need to read first about the planets before you start doing the other stuff? So, as I said, the CSS website, what that's going to begin with is a format that people have an order. And we're not going to have to exactly write everything and make everything, because most of it's already there. Some of it we're going to have to give an introduction to. But we're going to work with creating a structure so that people can begin using all this information that's out there and learning. And even if they can't be here for lecture, they can listen to some recordings or they can read and follow. And we're going to make it very accessible to the average person and give them all the resources on the topics and really create a way to cross this ocean of Jyotish. Organize it, structure it. And that's my mission. And because that's my mission, that's our mission. And, yeah.
Do we have to cross it? Can we just enjoy swimming in it?
We'll enjoy swimming, but
that gets me all like, oh, I gotta get there, kind of.
No. We'll enjoy the journey, but we don't want to get lost on the ocean and run out of food and water and then drowned or die. We want to eventually, go visit some port and enjoy ourselves there, and then go to another place and enjoy. We want to sail around and actually get places.
Okay.
So our goal is to get places.
And the places ultimately that we're striving to get to?
The place that this is good because this is, as I said, I've been working on clarifying my vision of the mission here with Vyasa SJC. So thank you for helping me clarify, because that's why I want to say it, because sometimes by speaking things out loud, it really brings some clarity to the situation. My want is, right now, we have a small group, Sarjeet, Visti, Zoran, myself, Robert, who are doing more special topic research, digging in, reading what the rishis are writing, and digging it out and showing examples and really bringing this stuff to life. And special topics, like sometimes Guruji will give a 3-hour lecture on something, but you could write a book on it. And so that 3-hour lecture was only him giving you the beginning. For example, punya charts, when somebody dies, taking the chart of their death, understanding where they're going to go when they die, how long it's going to be till they reincarnate, what sins did they do in this life that are causing them to reincarnate. I remember I had a friend who had these 2 friends, actually in the Berkeley area, who died in a motorcycle accident. A couple, newlywed, died on a motorcycle. When I looked at their punya chart, because they had the time that they died, Ketu was in the Lagna, which shows that they are stuck as spirits, wandering around. That they are not, they're indefinitely, they're not, like you can't calculate when they're going to reincarnate, because they're stuck as spirits and they need help moving over that. So that's just one topic that a whole book can go into. If you look at Robert, he just went a whole book into Drigdasha. So the actual places that we're going to are getting to the level where we can go that deep into such topics, so that we can have experts. So when maybe that's not an area that you want to go into, but someone else wants to go into that, and you have someone in your family die, or a client that has somebody die, you can connect them to that person who's an expert in that area. But that we have that expert in that area right here in California or in America, so that we can have these experts, these masters right here. And it's impossible to master everything. Absolutely impossible. Unless
special cities.
Unless you have really, really special cities. So my goal is not to make us all incredible masters. We can strive to be like Sanjay and understand as much as he does. But unless you have a stationary Jupiter alone in Lagna, in its own sign, then it's going to be some, so, does that clarify that goal to really to gain some mastery in various areas where we don't have masters right now, where we're lacking in masters? So while Sanjay is still alive, so that if you're doing that research and you have questions and you surpass my understanding in that area, we still have Sanjay to ask the questions to. Well, where can I get more on this? Or how does this work? Or what happens with this? Or what's the ritual for this? And who do I go to get, what priest can I go to get this information about the ritual that needs to be done? So that to get the masters here, because he can only give what we can receive. And so we got to get to the level where we can become fit vessels for understanding this knowledge.
Is it appropriate to be in this group if you want to be more of a generalist, like a Renaissance kind of Jyotishi?
It's possible.
Okay.
I'm still going to make you teach some basic subjects, though.
Right.
And do some basic research, because even as a Renaissance astrologer, unless I say you're going to teach Karakas, then after class you'll go home and what's going to give you that real inspiration to spend 5 hours on a Wednesday night digging through the scriptures? What's going to give you that impetus, that inspiration to really look in depth if you're not teaching? Like, I'm about to teach Badak. I went into Prashna Marga and I reread the Badak chapter 3 times. I wouldn't have gone into the Badak chapter to read it. And if I did, because I always read something in the morning, I wouldn't have read it 3 times. But I read it 3 times and I took a few notes to make sure I understood, to review the concepts. So the intention of teaching is to make you dig a little bit deeper and then say it out loud so that you fully understand the concept. So you don't have to go to the heights of intensive work, but at least we'll make, even as a Renaissance astrologer, we'll make you teach some basics. Okay? Is that okay? The other day I was waiting for a ride to pick me up on the way to work, and a crazy gentleman came over, Ketu. And first, I was reading Prashnamarga, actually. I was reading a different chapter. And he says, "Oh, what you reading?" "I'm a writer." "Hold this." And he gave me his umbrella to hold. And umbrella relates to Vamana avatar, and Jupiter. And he pulled out a pen and he started writing some just, craziness. And I kind of ignored him a little bit. And then he said, "You don't understand." And I looked at him and he said, "You see all these cars?" And it's this huge parking lot. And he said, "Before these were cars, they were thoughts in someone's head." Everything comes from a thought first. And then my ride came to pick me up. And he said, "You don't understand." And I looked at him and I said, "Nah, I understand. Trust me, I understand. More than you can imagine." Because this is what I was going over. I was thinking, this mission, this Vyasa SJC, our mission, what am I trying to create? And it all starts in the thought. And if we look at the Vedas talk a lot about, we have Brahma. And if we look at Brahma's first creations, anybody know about Brahma's first creations?
Yeah.
They were mind-born. They didn't even have physical bodies. They were mind-born. They were thoughts. His first creation were just thought forms. They hadn't even taken physical form yet. So first the thought form has to be born. Then it has to be said, and we record it, and it goes online, and lots of people hear it, and then it becomes real. Okay. So I think I was going to talk about Guru Shishya stuff, but we'll get into Jyotish now. I think that's enough. Other, all this is around. This is the stuff that Parampara, that you get in Parampara. Right now, you're not paying to learn about Badak, so I can sit here and talk about all kinds of things about Jyotish. Where if you were paying, you'd be getting a little bit frustrated. You're like, wait a minute, I paid this guy $150 for this weekend, and we're just going on and on and on about India and deities and this and that. And that's nice, and it's nice to learn, and so this is the thing about Parampara. We learn because all this is very important to Jyotish, but it's secondary. It's kind of peripheral. And the more of this peripheral that we understand, the more that we'll actually understand Jyotish, its place in our life, and its place in the world. One of these weekends we're going to lecture on the Vedas and what the Vedas mean, and as I was explaining to Kathy, here we have the Rig Veda, we have Gramanas, the Aranyakas, Upanishads. Where does Jyotish fit into all this, and how is it a Vedanga versus an Upaveda, and what's this mean? And the more we understand about this, the more we're going to understand the deeper significance of Jyotish as a whole. So all this is important. Okay. So.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of
Even
course.
out of context. You said about you visited the Nadi.
Yes.
Astrologers.
A few.
I have read some. Okay. So read some information that basically this is the information I heard, and that they tell the past, but the future does not match. What's your experience on that?
I cross my fingers and hope the future matches. That's all I know, because I was happy with that future. I was like, yeah. The one thing that has come to pass, that basically a lot of the things, he didn't talk too much about the future, most of mine. They talked a lot about my past.
Exactly, because I have not met any Nadi.
There's always, with Jyotish in general, there's a general understanding that you can only be 80% accurate anyway.
But they get your chart. They keep on asking you questions, and they build a chart in the books, and basically indexing to the book.
Oh, not mine. I told him when I was born. He went in the back, and he looked, and then he pulled out. He had these two different bamboo things, and he said, "Are you an artist or an Ayurvedic practitioner, or Vedya?" And I said, and I was in a clinic. I said, "Vedya," and so he took it, and he just started. And at first it was real general. We're going really off topic right now, so we'll end this soon, huh?
It's your birthday.
Yeah, and he said, he started saying, "You're creative, you're intuitive, you're a teacher, this, that." And at first I was like, And then he said, and your partners, and he started explaining general things about her, and I was like, okay. And then he said, and you study Ayurveda because you were an Ayurvedic doctor in past lives. And then he just started breaking it down. You're very artistic because in a past life in Northern Africa you were an interior designer of great repute. He just started just breaking it down, just saying what I'm doing now and why I'm doing it. And then after he went into the past, he did this real past-present thing, and then he made some future predictions.
Which nadi was that?
That was the Sukha Nadi in Bangalore. I also went to the Brigu Nadi that's just south of Dharamsala as well. And there's 2 others that I haven't made it to, that I have addresses that eventually. And I also went to, it's not a Nadi reader, but the Tamarpatra, which is Achyuta speaking. Which, you know about the Tamarpatra?
Not really what I heard about.
Okay. Well, the Tamarpatra, Achyuta, who was our Parampara guru, lived in the 15th century. And he set up gadis. And basically what I would like this to eventually become is a gadi, where we have a center, a study with all the books and the knowledge and the tools and the teachings are happening. And even if I go to India for the next 6 months, that there'll be somebody here teaching and it'll still be happening. It's a center. He set up them all over East India and into Nepal, into that region. He set up Achyuta, our Parampara guru. And when he left body, he left copper plates in a few places. And there's people who sit with those copper plates. And you can go to those copper plates and you touch them and you think about a question. And then the reader turns over the copper plate and there's writing on it. And he starts reading the writing and it's scratched in copper. And it's really strange. Like sometimes you look at it and you can see it. And other times you look and you can't see it. And some people can see it, some people can't see it. Sometimes it's not normal. And he reads it and it answers your question that you thought in your head. And then he turns it over and the next person comes, like I'd go, Visti would go, Visti would touch it. You turn it over and something totally different is on there. Starts reading, answering Visti's questions. So that's how our guru still talks to us now. And Visti and I both have mantras from Achyuta. Yeah. So that's a Parampara guru, huh? Still go to him for advice.